Hello, I'm Jim Cornell, and this is Base to Base, the weekly biotech podcast from Air Coastal Media. Yes, welcome again to the Base to Base biotech podcast, and this is number 64, which reminds me of a Beatles song. And it's going live on June the 19th, and it's still raining, and it feels like November. Maybe it is, and I just missed the entire summer. But enough complaining. Last week our guests were Mark Sawicki, President and CEO of Cryoport Systems, and Nick Manousos, CEO of Kenai Therapeutics. This week we have a conversation with Bora Pharmaceuticals Chief Commercial Officer, Jean-Baptiste or JB Agnus. If you do have news or suggestions for who should be on the podcast, or indeed any other suggestions or comments, please do get in touch at jim@deeptechdigest.com. And that's also the address you can use if you're interested in advertising with us, or sponsoring a podcast episode, or for event coverage. First, it's time to go through some of the headlines of the articles you may have missed over at deeptechdigest.com over the past week. A European consortium has been awarded a grant to develop a novel delivery technique for nucleic acid therapeutics. We had an article about an autoimmune vicious circle in Sjögren's disease. And integrating genetic origin data with tumour analyses enables better prediction of survival. A new partnership looks to advance rotavirus vaccine development. There has been IND approval in China for an autoimmune disease treatment, and the FCS Foundation has become the foundation for triglyceride disorders. Nuvalent is set to be acquired by GSK for $10.6 billion. CancerVax demonstrated full nanoparticle delivery, and we had an article on gene therapy prolonging health span. There's been a breakthrough in personalized treatments for lung cancer. Preclinical results are in for a novel therapeutic candidate for rare neurodevelopmental disorders, and you can read all of these and plenty more at deeptechdigest.com. All right, let's get to this week's interview, and it is a conversation with Bora Pharmaceuticals Chief Commercial Officer, Jean-Baptiste or JB Agnus. Bora Pharmaceuticals is an international contract development and manufacturing organisation, otherwise known as a CDMO, specialising in formulation development, clinical and commercial manufacturing, and packaging of complex oral, solid dose, liquid, semi-solid, biologics, and sterile injectable pharmaceutical products. All right, hi JB, thanks so much for being with us today. I wonder if we could start by you giving us a bit of background on Bora Pharmaceuticals.
Yes, absolutely. And first of all, thank you very much, Jim, for having me on the podcast. I'm always happy to have the opportunity to talk about Bora and some of the trends that are impacting the drug manufacturing industry. Bora Pharmaceuticals operates a globally integrated manufacturing network across North America, Asia, spanning US, Canada, and Taiwan. We're a contract development and manufacturing organization, and our capabilities include oral solid dose, biologics, drug substance, but also injectables, sterile ophthalmic products, and semi-solid dosage forms as well, like liquids, cream, ointments. So we really have a strategy that is centered around being a leading CDMO that provides comprehensive solutions from development through commercial manufacturing. And a key component of this strategy, I'm going to touch a little bit on M&As, is really targeted around acquisitions. And we've expanded our capabilities and our geographic reach thanks to recent site acquisitions. And just to give you a couple examples, we acquired an OSD site in the United States near Minneapolis. It's a fantastic facility for everything that's oral oral solid dosage forms, from early development to commercial manufacturing. We also acquired a site in Baltimore, Maryland, for sterile injectables. And more recently, we announced the intention to acquire a drug substance site, a biologics drug substance site from MacroGenics, located in Rockville, Maryland as well. So really a very strong commitment to, of course, biologics, but also our expansion in North America for both drug substance and drug product.
You mentioned those expansions and acquisitions. What drives that? Is it the geography or is it what they do? Or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question because site selection is a complex process that, of course, involves multiple criteria. So geography is definitely one of them. More than a decade ago now, Bora started out of Taiwan and then expanded with its first acquisition in Canada from JSK. It's a site that we acquired about 5 to 6 years ago, and then a very rapid expansion in the United States. So geography definitely matters. And I'm sure we'll talk about supply chain resilience and regionalization in our industry when it comes to drug manufacturing and drug supply. But this is definitely one important criteria. The other one is around capabilities, infrastructure, and scalability. So we're trying to diversify our palette of technologies and capabilities as well.
So, what would you say it is about Bora that separates you from other companies that do similar things to you?
Yeah, I think Bora's success is really driven by a combination of operational reliability, customer focus, and a very disciplined execution. So we really have built a diversified CDMO platform with very deep technical expertise, strong quality systems, of course, and a very clear focus on delivering for customers. I think the reliability theme is extremely important here at Bora. CDMO that delivers is also a CDMO that provides excellent customer experience as well. So, I joined about a year ago. I've met with a lot of our clients and prospective clients. The feedback is usually around the same key points, right? We're usually described as being very reliable, responsive, solution-oriented. We have our Bora way, the STAR values, and providing solution first, doing the right things, being proactive. I think those come across very clearly in our interactions with our customers. So this ability to combine a technical, let's say, depth with a very pragmatic and collaborative approach sets Bora apart.
What are you seeing as some of the factors or technologies or whatever it may be that are impacting drug manufacture right now?
There's a lot of things about impacting drug manufacturing right now, believe me, and not only technologies, but just to maybe stick to the technical aspects, right? I think there is adoption of advanced, manufacturing technologies. We're seeing in some areas, continuous manufacturing as being one of them. Of course, everybody talks about the use of AI to support, not only drug manufacturing, but it starts with drug discovery and drug development as well. So for CDMOs, I think there's a lot of things, that still need to be figured out. AI is a real thing at Bora. We have our AI console, and we are already working on several projects at the moment. So I'm pretty sure this is going to impact the CDMOs and drug manufacturing in the future. It's already there, actually. In other areas, I think the growth in complex, high-value therapies requiring very specialized technologies, bioavailability, the solubility challenges. So spray drying is definitely one very important technology that is being incorporated into manufacturing processes nowadays. Hot melt extrusion, just to name these two, for example, are commonly used to improve products' bioavailability. Complexity around controlled release forms as well is something that we're seeing here at Bora. And even though not a technology per se, but I'd like to say a couple of words around ESG and sustainability, because it definitely impacts manufacturing. And at Bora, we take great pride of our ESG team and initiatives and results. Obviously, it's embedded in our culture and operations.
How do you stay ahead of all of those things? Because You were mentioning AI, and that changes very, very quickly, and regulations change in many different places. How do you stay on top of all of that?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. We are working with industry experts, with consultants. We are seeking, external support to help us understand the ever-changing technical aspect, but also the regulatory, and trying to understand how AI will, of course, is impacting, but more importantly, I think will be impacting the future moving forward. So there's a lot of questions and that needs to be addressed, and it's really a process. So I think it's trying to leave no room actually for improvisation and being in that learning phase, collecting data and information. And I think accountability and ownership is definitely a very important aspect of, when you're involved in all these different initiatives and projects. I think at the end of the day, you own it. It's what you're going to do with it. And I think it starts at the top. We have our chairman and CEO, Bobby Cheng, who's definitely leading a lot of these initiatives, and it starts from the top, and then it is cascaded down, and it becomes ingrained in the culture. Because at the end of the day, we'll still need people, and and culture is important. Company's culture is very important. It's a real thing at Bora. So many initiatives as well in the HR and on the people side of things to make those things happen and keep them alive.
What are you seeing as some of the maybe the main challenges affecting drug development, but also distribution currently?
Well, the industry is clearly evolving toward greater resilience and the need for greater flexibility. There's a rising complexity. What comes to mind is biologics and advanced therapy manufacturing is definitely another challenge for drug development. From a manufacturing, and you mentioned distribution as well, I think in some areas we've seen capacity constraints in very specialized areas. I'm thinking the rise of GLP-1 sites, fill finish sites being almost totally dedicated to this type of product, and it has created some maybe some tensions in certain areas. Challenges, I think funding and funding volatility impacting biotech pipelines, definitely one big challenge. There is an appetite or the lack thereof. It depends on how you want to look at it for the drug development risk. So I think access to funding will keep being a challenge, but also creates amazing opportunities.
Right. And what are you seeing for trends right now? And not necessarily trends that affect you, but are there trends that affect you as well? I'm thinking things like
Yeah,
nearshoring, reshoring.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And those trends are global. They're impacting Bora, other CDMOs, and I would say the pharmaceutical industry as a whole. There's definitely a very strong shift toward onshoring. It's mostly driven by policy, but also supply risk. Significant US investment in domestic capacity, and not only at CDMOs. We've seen a lot of very large corporations investing into US manufacturing. Geopolitical tensions and the conflict in the Middle East, for example, increased supply chain fragmentation and the need for better regionalized supply chain. Maybe the need also for some redundancy. We've seen drug manufacturing being either coming from single countries or single sites. That creates obviously tensions, and with conflicts impacting the oil price, and then logistics, manufacturing goods, energy costs. It puts a lot of pressure on everyone at different levels, and we're seeing different strategies to mitigate the impact or the risk, either through stockpiling, regional diversification, onshoring, friendshoring. I mean, there's a lot of levers, I would say, that are being used right now to try to ensure that in the end drugs reach the patients.
You were mentioning at the beginning about the acquisitions and the diversification geographically. Is that a part of it? Is to insulate yourself against some of these potential headwinds of logistics?
It could be. I think CDMOs with North American footprint, like Bora, are definitely advantaged. I think nowadays we continue to, of course, strengthening Bora's U.S. presence through facilities such as the Maple Grove, Baltimore, and Rockville sites. It's definitely impacting us, and I think we are with our network of sites. Again, we have multiple sites in Taiwan. We have sites in North America. I mentioned Canada and US. We're providing customers with multiple options. And yes, this is, I think, another differentiator that sets Bora apart.
The partnerships that you have, are they with a whole range of companies from the multinationals right down to smaller companies?
The client mix at Bora is also very diversified. We're working with some of the top leading pharma companies. GSK is one of them. We were very happy to be able to announce our partnership and continued actually relationship with GSK just a few months ago. And we also have very early phase programs being currently developed at Bora. They are in various clinical stages, and the companies we're working with can be just a handful of people with a great product. So the expectations are definitely very different when it comes to developing a new process, delivering the first batch for clinical use versus manufacturing hundreds of kilograms or batches a year for a generic product. So I think we have the agility and more importantly, the skill set, the people that are able to tackle those challenges that are very different. And our sites do have different technologies, different scale, different capabilities in order to meet the client's needs. Absolutely. So it is a very important aspect of the CDMO industry is working with different clients, different product, different markets. Some goes at different pace. The cost pressure might be also different. So it really requires a lot of agility from the CDMOs.
And CDMOs in general, are there areas that you specialize in, or do you try and cover everything well, or are there things that you don't deal with?
The CDMO market is still highly fragmented. There's hundreds of CDMOs offering a lot of different services. So one thing we have in common, obviously, is the services, right? We're providing services to clients. We're offering our capabilities, our expertise. Some CDMOs are extremely focused. They only do one thing. They do it extremely well. Others are offering, global, almost from cradle to grave type solution where they claim they can do everything or anything. I think we've seen successful businesses. I mean, there are many recipes to success. I think focus and expertise is definitely one of them. So at Bora, I like to say we are a global organization. So we have global, of course, functions and support, but there's a lot of actions actually taking place locally. This is where you have, of course, the people, the specialization, the proximity to clients and patients. So we're supporting global MSAT, global project management. There's best practices and cross-fertilization across the network, especially in a growth phase where you acquire and onboard new sites, new capabilities. But you really, really want to stay nimble, agile, local. And our general managers are mini CEOs of their sites. And definitely this is where you have the highest level of specialization.
With some of those challenges that companies face, do they come to you and say, we're facing this issue, can you help? Or do you develop products to anticipate those needs and go to the companies and say, we've developed this that you might find useful?
The vast majority of the time, people come to us with a challenge, right, or an ask. The drug innovation, the IP, right, really belongs to our client. We're here to help either scaling up and or reducing cost of goods, ensuring, it's not very fancy, but just ensuring a robust and consistent, delivery of commercial products. or process development and optimization when we are in the clinical space for innovative drugs. So yeah, most of the time people come to us with a question mark, and we're here to provide answers. Even though I mentioned innovation and IP come from our clients, I think the big difference, and this is how Bora can differentiate as well, is the innovation in the way we answer or we address those challenges. And I think this is where I think Bora is also very different. It's the ability to really understand and work with our customers to find the best solution. And there is a risk-sharing almost philosophy, right, where we understand that not every client or every product or every situation is the same. And we are really always challenging ourselves to find the right way to do it.
And how are you seeing the industry or the parts of the industry that you work with? How are you seeing those evolving, and how are you evolving along with that?
I think the outsourcing definitely is, I mean, for CDMOs, as you can imagine, the outsourcing growth is definitely an evolution. I mean, there's different numbers, people are trying to understand what percentage of the pharma manufacturing is being externalized. I can say with confidence that it's probably 50% or more, and I think this trend is going to increase moving forward. That's one. I think some of the trends, I mean, we already talked about it, the increased demand for US-based supply chain security and resilience, but not only the US, I think we'll see some regionalization across the board. Again, some of the points that we talked about regarding technology. So I think the focus on specialized capabilities, right? Whether it's biologics or small molecule products, and the growing importance of artificial intelligence. And like I said, though it's still scaling internally here at Bora, I think it's definitely going to be a large contributor to our company's success moving forward. So, as a global CDMO, we are always actively adapting to these trends. And I think our strategy with its emphasis on strategic acquisitions, customer focus, expansion in key markets, key geographies, differentiated technologies, aligns kind of very well with these evolving trends. So it really helped position Bora to navigate, those future challenges and opportunities as well in the pharma manufacturing space.
It's nice to get those overviews and find out about solutions for some of the industry's challenges. If you're in Europe and watching the World Cup, I hope you aren't suffering too much from sleep deprivation and that you're enjoying the games, which is the most important part. So that's it for this week's podcast. If you do want to get in touch with guest opportunities, or if you want to advertise, just get in touch at jim@deeptechdigest.com. And I should remind you that we don't charge to be on the podcast. So until next time, wherever in the world you are, I hope you have a great week ahead. Thanks a lot for listening, and I hope you'll join us again next time for another Base to Base Biotech podcast. The Base to Base Biotech podcast is an Air Coastal Media Limited production.